Welcome to the video where Wilma Aristizabal, Alejandra Yarce, and Diana Vargas will try to explain a little bit the suggested curriculum.
The government has presented an education plan called Colombian Bilingual for period between 2014 and 2018. The objective of the program is to become Colombia in the most educated country in Latin America for 2025. It seeks to strengthen the learning teaching practice and in order to orientate the how and what content bring for the student and in transition to 11th grade. It also focuses on obtaining A1 level at 5th grade and B1 level at 11th grade, according with the Common European Framework. The suggested curriculum is composed by 1. Practical guide for the implementation of the suggested curriculum of English. It describes 4 stages which are analysis, planning, application, and evaluation. It addresses to let educational institutions adapt the suggested curriculum based on their needs and possibilities. 2. Pedagogical guidelines for teachers. It works with different performance indicators that are based on knowing, doing, being, and learning. Moreover, the suggested content concerned with themes such as health and life, peace and living together, environment, society, globalization, and so on. Those topics are guides to work with the students. 3. Basic learning right for English is an essential tool that provides a description of the skills, example of practical activities to perform in class, and knowledge to develop English classes. 4. A pedagogical principle and guidelines that provide pedagogical material like student books, teacher books, audios, readings, internet sources, etc. An example is ECO that comes with more than 90 audios to work in class. Those resources are focused on encourage educational institutions to apply the suggested curriculum according to the context and in order to achieve the required level.
The suggested curriculum and the basic learning rights are important because it unifies the resources and the procedures followed by educative institutions, teachers, students, educative authorities, and academic material designers, etc. in order to become Colombia in the most educative country in South America and achieve the mastering level of English. A1 to 5th grade and B1 at 11th grade, as the Common European Framework described them. Additionally, to be ready to face the 21st century challenger or demand according to the world globalization and the current context of Colombia, the education needs to be a support to achieve those goals. And as Julián de Zuviría 2013 suggested in his article El Maestro y los desafíos de la educación del siglo XXI, the education system must develop the skills required by the 21st century learners, updating as soon as they face the new challenges that the world is making. Besides, in the 21st century, we have to develop the competence to work by team and not only in face-to-face interaction, but also in network work team. So, new style of life to work creates new demands, and the education have to develop the abilities and increase the cultural awareness in order to qualify students to achieve their goals. And it is known that English is the common language used to interact in the network or team. The suggested curriculum promotes an interaction that enriches the learning process. There are available resources on information using technological and network devices that can be used in classes, and it became the learning process in a dynamic one.
First of all, we have to recognize that the implementation of the suggested curriculum and the basic learning rights is a process that has to be done step by step. So the application of those pedagogical resources need to pass from different stages in order that it can get positive results. So as was recommended in the practical guide for the implementation of the suggested curriculum of English document, we have first to analyze the specific context in which we will work. For example, identify the community, institutions, resource, content, abilities, backgrounds, the specific needs, strengths of students, and so on. When we have already determined those important aspects, we can continue to make a lesson plan that takes into account the previous condition, the suggested curriculum, the 21st century skills that students require to face in the current world, and additionally the 5 dimensions that Julián de Zuviría in 2013 proposed. The dimensions like cognitive, communicative, social, valorative, and pragmatic. But why? Because our work as a teacher is to provide a lesson plan that develops in our students different practical abilities, such as student critical thinking, in order that they can solve real life problems. And we can take advantage of the basic learning rights in the suggested curriculum because they integrate the development of the knowing, thinking, and doing dimensions. Moreover, it comes with specific samples and activities whose intention is facilitate the application of those materials. After we create a proper lesson plan, we can go to the action applying it with the target community. And during the application, we are going to notice if the plan needs improvements or adjustments to work more efficient. So it was about the general terms that we are going to consider to align the suggested curriculum and basic learning rights in our practicum. But also there are another items that we consider. For example, we think that the implementation of the methodology called project-based could help us to bring engaging materials for students since they will learn through their how experience. So that the learning can be less ephemeral because as the constructivism theory proposed by Piaget claimed that people can construct their knowledge and meaning through the how experience. Thus, if we provide classes where students can work and correlate the previous knowledge and the new experience with the target knowledge, the learning will become more meaningful, as Hasbel in 1968 also states. But it does not mean that the task-based methodology was no use. We consider that both methodologies can be more efficient when they complement each other, but we are going more focused on project-based. And as final point, we agree with the interest of the basic learning rights to work based on developing the listening, reading, and speaking skills. And because of the fact that we are going to work with children between 4 to 10 years old, it is necessary to provide activities that stimulate those type of abilities rather than writing competence. So we can use the exercise audios that some resources provide resources like Bonnie, Bonita, or Echo, whose objective is develop listening, reading, and speaking competence using the standards and the themes proposed in the suggested curriculum.